Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at my winter 2019-2020 forecast. This includes my precipitation outlook, my temperature outlook, my snowfall outlook, and then finally at the very end we're going to be looking at my overall forecast. I hope you guys really do enjoy this video. Now we're going to start off here with my precipitation outlook. For all the maps, the key will be on the right side and then my map will be on the left side. So we're going to start from west to east for all these maps. Starting at the west coast for Oregon, parts of California, well actually most of California, parts of southern and western Nevada, you're going to be seeing moderately below average, and that also includes southern Arizona. Now, for the majority of Oregon, parts of northern California, most of Nevada, and then into Arizona and New Mexico, and then also some of southern Texas, you're going to be seeing slightly below average conditions. So that won't be too noticeable, but definitely in the long range, it'll average out to be slightly below average, and that's mainly because you're not going to be getting too much moisture fueling in from the Pacific. Mainly for Oregon and Washington up here, you're going to be seeing that, but mainly down south here, you're not really going to be seeing any of that precipitation move in through the west coast. Now, we're going to start here, we're going to go here to the above average conditions. Anywhere from Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and then most of Texas, eastward, you're going to be seeing slightly to moderately above average conditions. In the slightly above average conditions, it won't be too noticeable, but you'll definitely notice an uptick in storms that are passing through, whether that be in the form of an Alberta Clipper, just some cross-country systems, maybe some nor'easters potentially, but you'll definitely be seeing above average conditions. And then in that moderate shade of green, you're going to be seeing moderately above average conditions. That's where you're most likely going to be seeing your Colorado lows dip in and impact those areas, whether that be in the form of rainfall or snowfall. And then also you'll be seeing your nor'easters track, and you'll see precipitation from those. So pretty much most of these tracks will impact the southern, southeastern United States in some way, most likely in the form of rainfall, but some snow events definitely could occur throughout the winter. Here's your temperature anomalies, and we're going to start off in the west and then go to the east as we did last time. Above average, moderately above average for California and Arizona, and then slightly above average anywhere from Oregon, Northern California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and then most of southern Texas actually. And that's where you're going to be seeing your temperatures being in those darker shade of orange. You're going to be seeing noticeably above average, and so you'll definitely be able to notice that you've been above average this winter. But then slightly above average, it'll just be slightly, you won't really feel as much above average, and some days you'll actually be below average as well, so not too dominant over there. In the east though, we do have a lot of below average temperatures. Your below average temperatures span from Montana, Wyoming into Colorado and Texas, and that's where you're going to be seeing slightly below average. That spans all the way down into the deep south and the Gulf Coast. Then you have moderately below average as you get a bit further north, and that's for the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, and then and then eastward, basically on the same latitude. And you're going to be seeing moderately below average, as you're going to see more frequent cold dips. Well below average here over parts of the northern plains, including North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan, northern upstate New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and the northern half of Maine. That's where you could be seeing very noticeably below average, and you'll basically almost always be really, well, at least moderately below average, and that's because you're going to be almost always going to be hit with those cold blasts. Really doesn't matter, because these areas down here, you might not get impacted by some of those cold blasts that are a bit farther to the north, but these areas will almost always be impacted with them, pushing them well below average. Here's your snowfall anomalies. I know a lot of people actually like this map the most because they're snowfall enthusiasts, or actually most of my audience actually likes the snowfall, and so they definitely like this map. We'll start in the west again, slightly below average. One disclaimer, if most of these areas won't actually see, especially in the southwest, they won't actually see snowfall. But just take into account that it's only really for those higher elevations. If you don't usually see snowfall in your area and you're slightly above average or slightly below average, then that might mean that if you're in the slightly below average, you have less chance to see snowfall that year. Or if you're in the slightly above average, it might mean you have a greater chance of seeing snowfall, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be actually seeing snowfall that year. I just want to point that out. So especially for California, perhaps you might not be seeing snowfall over in the immediate coast in these areas, but potentially in the Sierra Mountains, you're most likely going to be seeing below average conditions for your snowfall. I just wanted to point that out so that you guys don't get your hopes up that, oh yay, I'm gonna get snow, and you're all the way where you don't usually see snow. Now, that slightly below average area is for California, Nevada, Arizona, parts of Utah, New Mexico, and then parts of southwestern Texas. Now, your slightly above average temperature snowfall actually takes over most of the United States, anywhere from northern Washington, including Seattle, all the way down to the southeastern United States. You're all in that slightly above average in that first shade of blue. Then, in that darker shade of blue, that second shade of blue, you're going to be seeing moderately above average conditions for your snowfall, and that's where you could definitely be seeing a lot of Alberta clippers. And this winter is really going to be like the 2013-2014 winter, where especially for the I-95 corridor, you were slammed with about uh, double as much snowfall, sometimes triple as much snowfall as you usually get. And these areas, they really got a lot of snowfall as well, from a lot of clippers and then some major Colorado lows that tracked north and brought a lot of snowfall to those areas. A well below average area is over parts of northern New Jersey, northeast Pennsylvania, the eastern half of upstate New York, most of Connecticut, most of northern Rhode Island, and then most of Massachusetts, except for the southeastern Massachusetts, all of Vermont, all of New Hampshire, and then all of Maine. That's where you're going to be seeing well above average snowfall, and especially for those interior areas like interior Maine, interior New Hampshire, interior Vermont, interior upstate New York, you're all going to be seeing those well above average conditions, especially from some what we like to call Miller B nor'easters, which like to track further inland, which actually lead to your snowfall being further inland and then rain to the coast. We don't look to see as many of those as we did perhaps last winter, where the I-95 corridor really didn't get anything, but then you moved a few miles inland and you were sometimes triple, quadruple your normal amount of snowfall. We're going to really be looking at some nor'easters that kind of track like this a lot more, but you'll definitely have quite a few of these type of nor'easters that leave the coast out of on that snowfall. Now, for the time that you've all been waiting for, my winter 2019-2020 overall forecast. Sorry, at the top it says overall forecast. I mean overall snowfall anomalies. Now we're gonna start from west to east. It says dry and warm over here for parts of Oregon, most of California, actually all of California, all of Nevada, some parts of Idaho, most of Utah, parts of southwestern Colorado, most of New Mexico, all of Arizona, and parts of western Texas. That's where you could be dry and warm, and some of these areas, especially for parts of the northern, the Four Corners, northern Four Corners, into parts of New Mexico and Texas. That's where you could definitely be more of a flip-flop pattern, where sometimes you get in some of these cold air, and then sometimes you're in that warm air. You're really going to be in a flip-flop, especially in this average area. Now, as we move a little bit east, you're going to be seeing clippers over here, anywhere from Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, even Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and northward. You're basically going to be in that clipper region. And then you have very cold over here, over parts of the UP of Michigan, parts of the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and then parts of northern Wisconsin. And then also this area down here is also the very cold. I just didn't want to rate it twice. I felt there was no point of doing that. and that includes parts of Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Now we're gonna look down south a little bit. Your wintry mix zone. I know this is quite a big area, but that's where you're gonna be predominantly in your wintry mix. Of course, every system is different. Sometimes you have some southerly tracks, sometimes you have more northerly tracks, and so that's really gonna depend. But for most of these areas, when you do get impacted with some wintry weather, it's most likely going to be in the form of wintry mix or freezing rain. Then down as you get closer to the Gulf Coast, these areas definitely could get some wintry mix this year, or even some snowfall. Some rare event could possibly give these areas some snowfall, but you're going to be predominantly wet over this winter. Snowy conditions over most of these areas, over upstate New York, into Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Northern Virginia, into all of Delaware, most of New Jersey, most of the southern third of New Jersey, 2/3 of New Jersey, all of Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. You're all going to be in your snowy conditions. That's where you could get a lot of snowfall this weekend. I mean, not this weekend, this winter. From if we look back actually to your snowfall anomalies, those areas were also just outside of that well above average, but they were still going to be seeing moderately to even some areas outside of there could definitely be well above average. So that's why I put you guys in your snowy category. Now, the worst of winter here for parts of the interior Northeast, and that includes Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, most of upstate New York, most of Connecticut, most northern Rhode Island, most of Massachusetts, northwestern New Jersey, and then parts of central and eastern Pennsylvania. That's where you could be getting a lot more snowfall in these regions, and you're almost always going to be hit with some snowfall from pretty much any system. It'll definitely be cold enough for most of these systems. That cold air will definitely be far enough south to have a lot of snowfall in these regions. Then your final region, that's going to be your average lake effect region, and that's just going to be dependent on your actual temperatures in fall. So if these Great Lake regions are actually really cold in fall, or the below average in fall, then that's going to lead to less lake effect later on in the winter, and that's going to be due to the lakes being frozen over. If they freeze over, or if they're colder, they don't have enough moisture, and then you'll have less lake effect. So for now, I'm gonna say average lake effect. As the fall plays out, we'll actually see if this is gonna be below or above average lake effect. So actually, you want to hope for a warmer fall in these areas if you want more lake effect if you live in these areas, and that'll actually lead to above average lake effect in those regions for the winter. Anyways, if you did enjoy that video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I upload almost daily, and I provide amazing weather content almost every day. And then please hit the like button, and also turn on notifications. If you click on that bell icon, it'll ask you if you want all notifications, some notifications, or no notifications. Please click all notifications so that you'll always get notified when I upload on my channel. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.